Oh boy, Matt, it is time for our main event of the evening at 170 pounds between Stephen Wonderboy Thompson and Geoff, the Handz of Steel, Neal. Matt, I'm really looking forward to this fight. I mean, Geoff Neal is one of the hottest prospects in this division. It seems like everybody's avoiding him, and it's hard for him to pick up fights. And opposite him, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, I mean, a lot of people have sat there and thought, Wonderboy, what is the secret to your powers? And only 4.5 guys have really figured it out. I mean, Tyron Woodley being 1.5 of those guys based on the draw and the loss that Wonderboy has on his record. But really, it's been an immaculate run in the UFC, with the exception of, again, the Woodleys, the Darren Till decision loss over in England, and then the knockout loss in front of a big crowd in Nashville to Anthony Pettis, which was just such a weird fight to really think of. But for Wonderboy, I mean, he bounced back in his last time out, which was just over a year ago against Vicente Luque, in a bit of a weird fight because Vicente really finally got that push to, hey, he's a big-name fighter, and he just wasn't able to come up. He came up short in that one against Wonderboy. And with Stephen Thompson, and I have it kind of in the graphics that are going to pop up here, I originally put southpaw as a stance. You could call it switch, you could call it orthodox, you could call it whatever you want. But he has two very distinct styles when he switches stances.
He does, and it's not something we see a lot from fighters. For instance, when Geoff Neal switches stances himself, he does the same thing just from both sides. Paul Felder's a good example. No matter what he does, be it orthodox or southpaw, the techniques will be the same. With Wonderboy, it's odd because he really only kicks with his right leg. He'll kick with his right leg even if he's in the southpaw position, but he uses it more like a front leg side kick, like more of a probing tool. And then if he's in the orthodox position, that's when he's whipping around those real hard power leg kicks. And it's odd too because Wonderboy doesn't throw a lot of leg kicks for being so kick heavy himself. He's started to do it a little bit more the further along in his MMA career he's come, but it's not like he's a very primary kick-heavy fighter, but he doesn't go to the legs as often as a lot of other kickers do, so it is kind of an odd thing to see. But with Wonderboy, he's such a good counter-striker, and that's something you always have to talk about, especially when he's fighting another primary striker like a Geoff Neal. Geoff Neal brings the thunder, and he hits you one time, you go down. And it is odd, and we brought it up in videos before, hell, we were talking about it before this even started. Geoff Neal has some of the best finishing instincts in all of the UFC. He's not going to get you hurt and just bum rush you and try to finish you immediately, and then if he can't land that big shot, he's exhausted. He stays technical and disciplined throughout the whole entire fight.
And the perfect example is this fight that was almost a year ago against Mike Perry, and it's weird, Tapology has it 11 months, 4 weeks ago. To me, that's a full year, but Tapology, you do you. If you watch that fight, not that he's tentative, but he's calculated when he's striking with Perry because Perry's going to bring that wildness to his fights. He was coming off the one where he broke his nose in all sorts of different weird ways. It was a weird stylistic matchup. It was a weird matchup to make. It just was. Oh, yeah. Geoff Neal, cerebral, hurts Perry. Perry starts to back up. Geoff Neal, unleash the Kraken, and just goes absolutely buck wild. But when he does go forward, he keeps his hands up. And he's still thinking, and he's landing those power shots until he goes in, crashes, Perry goes down, and the fight's over. Geoff Neal is one of the smartest strikers that you have in this division. And again, lends credence to the fact that nobody wants to fight him because he has so much potential, he has so much power, and he's another one of those prospects at a Fortis MMA that you have to watch for. So you look at his overall body of work. He loses by rear naked choke in 2013 to Martin Sano. Well, that's going to happen. He loses to Kevin Holland by TKO in 2017 before he beats Bilal Williams and then Chase Walden on Contender Series. You're going to lose to Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland just knocked out Jacare Souza cold. It was insane.
He's all right.
So then Geoff Neal comes into the UFC. He submits Brian Camozzi. No, not Chris. He knocks out Frank Camacho. A little bit too small for 170 and gets knocked out
Nice
sometimes.
Performance, though.
Beats Bilal Muhammad. That's probably one of the better ones. Beats Nico Price, beats Mike Perry. He was originally scheduled to take on Neil Magny back in August. That one didn't happen. So now he comes in here and takes on Wonderboy. That's a step up from Neil Magny. So kudos to Wonderboy for taking this fight because the rumors were Wonderboy and Chimaev for the longest time.
Exactly. And again, we don't really know where Chimaev does fit into all of this, but I agree with you. Wonderboy is a more high-profile fight, but I'd argue Neil Magny's a harder stylistic fight for Geoff Neal, because with Wonderboy, you know what you're going to get. He will stand, he'll play that rangy striking game with you, as opposed to Neil Magny, who, just go back and watch that Robbie Lawler fight that Neil Magny had. He'll make it ugly. He's not afraid to go for the takedown. He is a high-volume guy, and he does give guys like Geoff Neal a little bit of trouble. So, personally, I'm a little disappointed we never saw that Neil Magny fight. But with the Wonderboy fight, much more high profile. I like that this is a main event too, because for Geoff Neal, that's been his big trouble. He's in like the Ryan Hall situation where 5 people know who you are, but you're better than pretty much everyone in the top 15. You just need the opportunity to get your name out there, and fighting Wonderboy in a main event is the perfect way to do it. I understand Wonderboy has only won 2 of his last 5, but it's still Stephen Thompson. Like, he has a massive following. Everyone knows he's one of the top guys in the division, and coming off his win over Vicente Luque, listen, you're looking... I run 2 people's fan clubs. It's Dustin Poirier and Vicente Luque. And when Vicente Luque lost to Wonderboy, I didn't cry, but I definitely went outside and just had to, like, think for a second. Because it was just a weird fight. Luque started out doing really well. He landed big power shots. And then Wonderboy countered him a trillion times and dropped him a bunch. And it hurt my feelings. I don't think Geoff Neal will have the same issue as Luque. Because when you look at the triangle of striking, if you will, if you go power, speed, and cardio, Luque, I would argue, hits harder than both these guys do. Just pure one-shot power. Geoff Neal has a big speed advantage, though, over Vicente Luque, and he might not be as heavy-handed of a fighter as Luque is, but I think that the fact that he is the faster guy makes up for the fact that he isn't as, one-punch heavy as Luque. If he can get to Wonderboy, who we've seen get dropped at this stage in his UFC career, again, before the Woodley fight, he wasn't really even getting hurt. Jake Ellenberger was able to drop him in the Ultimate Fighter finale. Odd fight to think of off the top of my head. But other than that one fight, he had a phenomenal chin. And we've seen that as he's gotten a little bit older, I don't know if it has to do with he's a little bit slower with his movement left to right, he can get cracked. Woodley, of course, famously hurt him both times in their first and second fight. The Darren Till fight was odd because it was really 50-50 until Till, of course, dropped him in the 5th round. And then you look at the Anthony Pettis fight. Anthony Pettis at 170, I wouldn't say is a world beater by any means, but the fact that he was able to go out there and KO Wonderboy does make me a little nervous when now you're fighting Geoff Neal, who's like a prime, way bigger Anthony Pettis.
And I mean, a lot of people, and I've seen it in the comments section, I put the picture out there in the YouTube community tab just to say, hey, working on the videos, what do you think about the main event? And there are a couple of people that pointed to the fact that, Jorge Masvidal had lost to Wonderboy, and if Wonderboy can put on a performance like that, it was only 3 years ago, then, wow, he has a great opportunity against Geoff Neal. But a lot of people forget the fact that Jorge Masvidal did the high school between university, took a leap year, and after that leap year became a totally different fighter. So keep that in mind. And Jorge Masvidal lost the split decision to Demian Maia before that too, but you're not talking about that because it's not overly relevant. If we look at this fight though, Wonderboy, counter-striking, maybe a little bit of volume, positive strike differential in the UFC, which is always good to see. You talked about some of the knockdowns. That's always worrying. Strikes landed per minute for these two guys. And again, totally different levels of competition. And Wonderboy's been around for much longer. 3.93 landed per minute for Wonderboy to 6.04 landed for Geoff Neal. We talked about the fact that he doesn't normally crash forward. And I said that for a lot of fighters on this card. If you're going to win, you probably need to crash forward because it's really tough to beat some of these guys in range. You'd think that in a fight against Wonderboy, who uses kicks to set up distance, and he probably has some of the best distance management in the game. Oh, yeah. You'd think, well, Geoff Neal's got to close that gap and really just rush forward and get him. But no, Geoff Neal's a lot smarter than that. He doesn't need to strike that way. He can throw a lot of different things together. He's fought a lot of good fighters. Again, you talk about a loss to Kevin Holland. I think that's more a learning experience than a tell in this fight. And I know you're going to, people are going to point to that. That was 3 years ago too. So again, sometimes you're going to lose, sometimes you're going to win. Geoff Neal on a big win streak, 7 fights in a row. Wonderboy 2-3 in his last 5, but again, against the greatest level of competition. And his 5th to last fight against Woodley was almost 4 years ago. So it really kind of puts things into perspective there, Matt. If we have a look at the Tapology votes, at a 786 total votes, 65% going with Wonderboy, picking him to win by decision, 77% of that 65. The 35% that are picking Geoff Neal to win, 64% have him by knockout. And if we have a look at the odds, they're about at par. Wonderboy open -115, went down to -175, and then that line just continued to creep up, -110 for Wonderboy. For Geoff Neal, open +105, got as high as a +150, now at a -113. So people are going with Geoff Neal on the Underground Whisper Network, as we say over on the Tapology votes. The fans are going with Wonderboy. The dollar amounts are going with Geoff Neal. Matt, it is a really tough one to try and predict because it's such a clash of styles in terms of striking styles. So overall, what do you make of this one in the end here?
So I do agree with the Tapology votes for once. I like how more people think that Wonderboy is probably going to win, but if Neal wins, it's more likely not going to be by KO. it's hard to beat Wonderboy in a 5-round fight in a striking exchange because you know his cardio is always going to be there. His ability to counter is just going to improve as the fight progresses. And he's such a rangy guy at 170 that Geoff Neal, he's never fought anyone like Wonderboy Thompson, whereas Wonderboy, he's fought guys like Vicente Luque who can fight in a similar style to Geoff Neal. He's fought the Rory McDonalds, he's fought the Jorge Masvidals. All that being said, I still like Geoff Neal in this. He's the younger version and does a lot of what made Wonderboy so good in the first place. And Wonderboy, when you look at his record, he's not one of these guys like a Travis Lutter who has a trillion fights, or Travis Fulton, sorry. But he has taken quite a bit of damage throughout his UFC career, and especially over that last little 5-fight run. Fighting a guy like Geoff Neal is not the type of dude you want to be testing your durability against, and I can see Geoff Neal landing a big left straight at some point in this fight, hurting Wonderboy, and then just putting it on him from there. So I like Geoff Neal in this one, but I've got to admit, I can see Wonderboy slipping a punch, cracking him with a straight left, and doing the exact same thing to Geoff Neal.
I like Geoff Neal in this fight too, Matt. And you really point to a good aspect. If Steve Wonderboy Thompson is going to win this fight, either, he could finish Geoff Neal. It's happened. You talk about the fact that Geoff Neal hasn't really fought a tall, rangy striker like that before. I gotta bring it up again. That Kevin Holland.
He doesn't kick like.
I know they don't kick, but they're very tall, very rangy. Whether it's at 170 or 185 or wherever the hell Kevin Holland decides he wants to fight, because I think he's paved a path.
Oh,
he could fight John Jones heavyweight tomorrow if he wanted to, and I bet they'd sign that contract. But John Jones wouldn't. In terms of this fight, though, Geoff Neal, yes, I like the path to victory. I like the power. I like the controlled wildness. I like the fact that there's so many different angles that he can cut himself as well. And I think he poses just that special challenge to Wonderboy where I think Geoff Neal can take it. Again, Vicente Luque, you talk about the cardio. It's there. The Barberena fight worried me in the third round. But it is there. With Geoff Neal, you've had the opportunity to train for a 5-round fight here the last couple of months. Not to say that Wonderboy hasn't. It's been a long time since we've seen Wonderboy, over a year at this point. 37 years old. Again, he could go in there and have a game like, I don't know, picking old, not really Channing Frye's not the player I could think of.
Like after Kobe Bryant tore his Achilles and in his last game ever when he had scored 60, Wonderboy could have put on one of those performances. The difference is Kobe Bryant's one of the greatest athletes to ever walk foot on the face of this earth. Wonderboy's a very good athlete, but I don't know if I have him in the same
like Channing Frye, just open shooting threes, and that's about it. Like Jared Dudley, just being there for the boys. But Matt, overall in this fight, NBA references aside, I'm going with Geoff Neal. I really do think he has a great opportunity in this fight. It should be a good one.
Oh, yeah.
Disagreeing with the Tapology picks, but slightly siding with the odds, I guess, or at least where they're trending. I think it's going to be great. You're going with Geoff Neal as well. And overall, Matt, this is the last prediction video of 2020. Unless things change during the week and we have to change things. But we really do have to thank everybody out there this year. I mean, we've totally changed around the studio that we have. Our microphone stopped working a couple of weeks ago. People hit us up in the super chat over on Question Mark Kicks, which is on Saturdays before the fights. Helped us out. We picked up a new microphone. We've got a new camera. Like, it's been an absolutely incredible year. Matt's on with Fight Night Picks full time. It's just absolutely wild, and we couldn't thank everybody out there enough. I had the opportunity to stand behind about 25 people at the post office today to ship some shirts out, and that helps us out as well. So check out the website, fightnightpicks.net. You can always find us Twitter and Instagram at Craig Allen FMP, at Matt Allen FMP, at Fight Night Picks. I'm looking forward to a crazy 2021. I know we're working on a couple of extra things. Now, we teased that the last time. We ended up coming out with This Week in MMA and changing up a couple of things. But I've got a couple more things coming down the pipe and a few other things before the end of the year. So I just wanted to say thanks.
Yeah, hashtag Free Craig 2021. That's the real goal for next year. Listen, 2020, I think we can all agree, was not a great year. But guess what? We built something really cool here, and we couldn't do it without the community, being you guys. So yeah, if you support us, we love making the content for you, and let's just make sure 2021 is the best year ever. Yeah, so hopefully you have a good holidays. I'm sure we'll be seeing you around. We got a lot, like I said, we have a lot of stuff planned before the end of the year. So let's do this in sync, Matt. Keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks, and as we always say with Fight Night Picks, let's get into it.